Hi and welcome to Geeks for Geeks. Today we would be discussing a easy problem of recursion. So basically it is not an easy problem as a whole, but if you are learning recursion, this problem is a good start, to be honest. So let's start off with this problem. This problem tells us that we are given a number. Let's say we are given the value 16. So at this next instance, what they want is, they want us to subtract 5, that is 11. And then they want us to subtract 5 again, 6. And we need to keep subtracting until the value becomes less than 0. After that, we need to again start adding. Okay, so if we start adding, this would somewhat again become 1. This would become 6. This would become 11. This would become 16. Okay, so this is what they want basically, but they are telling us that we can't really use loops or something, so we need to use recursion. So whenever, like, this is a common pattern, whenever the question mentions that can you do this without using loop, the alternative to loop most of the time is recursion itself. So now a small observation at this instance is, if you see up that this, if you exclude this part is nothing but a reflection of this part. What I meant is that if I can trace back and I would get 1, then I can get 1, I can get 11, and I can get 16. So instead of me going down, I can say that they want me, just looking the problem statement in another way, I need to go up. I need to go up. And if you observe, first we are coming down this, and then we are just going up. And we can kind of use the same idea. Okay, so we have a number n. We have a number n. Okay, and we would call for n minus 1. This is n minus 5. This could be understood from the recursion that this would be the state. Okay, we would call for n. And when n is called, I want it to insert. Like what I meant to do is, like what I can say is, whenever a number is there, I want it to first insert. So I would say insert n. This is done. And then call for, let's say this is n, this is rec, and then call for rec of n minus 1, n minus 5. This is also understood. Like we are having 16. First we write 16 or print 16. Then we go for 16 minus 5. Then again we print 16 and then we go for 11 minus 6. Instead of print, I am writing insert because we need to return as a vector itself. Okay, good enough. And now when we hit n minus 5, we want to print it, but we don't want to print it again. So what I can say is that here we are inserting, and then I can just inject an if statement at this point, that if n is less than 0, return. Why? Because it is, and my minus 4 would already be returned. But now what I want is, I want it to insert this value, that is 1. Again, after the recursion, after 1 is done. Like this is when in the process of going back, we want it to insert. In the process of going back, this seems like this is stale recursion. Okay, like after the recursion is complete, in the process of going back, we want it to insert again. So I would just say insert or print again. N. Now let us just visualize this again if we want. So now see, first we would have rec of 16. This would first print, as this is not less than 0. So this would call for rec of 11. Then this would call for rec of 6. And then this would call for rec of 1. Again, this is greater than 0. Again, we would call for rec of minus 4. So if you see 16, 11, 6, 1, minus 4 would get printed from this statement. Okay. Now, When this thing we would handle explicitly, that if n is 0, return. And then we would, in the process of coming back, when this is done and this if statement is not getting executed, again we would insert n. This does the magic. So in the process of coming back, we would insert 1. Again, this if statement is done, this is done. So in the process of coming back, we would insert 16, then 11, then 16. And this is how we are getting this output. That's it. Now let us move to the implementation, and this would be done itself. So we would have something like vector v. So I'm just doing everything in the global space because of my previous experiences. That is, I'm a competitive programmer. So let's just move forward. So v dot push back. First we insert the value, current value n. Then if n becomes less than equal to 0, then we would return that. After this thing is done, in the process of going back, we want it to insert. Okay, but before that, let's just call for, instead of rec, this would be pattern. So that rec was completely, that is recursion. I just use rec for every time. And this would be n minus 5. And in the process of coming back, we want it to insert the value again. That is push back again. And then after everything is done, just return b. Okay, now just compile it and see how many errors are we making. Seems like no error is being made. Let's just submit and see if we can get an AC. That's it for today. Thank you and have a nice day.